On this episode of ResiWeek, Sony has speakerless TVs, and where can you find employees, and how to best grow the industry. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Peerless AV, the official outdoor display provider of the Daytona International Speedway.
This is ResiWeek episode 74, Help Wanted.
This is ResiWeek.
Welcome to ResiWeek. This is your weekly wrap-up of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matt D. Scott for AVNation.tv. And today, I'm pleased to be joined by Stephen Brawner. He's the president of Pro Audio Georgia. How are you, sir?
I'm doing outstanding, man. It's actually a day without rain in Georgia, which is pretty rare these days.
Yeah, no doubt. We've been dealing with that too. And last but not least, I've got Tim Albright. He's the founder of this here network that you love oh so much. How are you,
sir?
Tim?
How are you?
I'm doing great. We're recording this kind of right in between Canada Day. For y'all that don't know what we do in Canada, we celebrate Canada Day.
And it was the 150th Canada Day.
It was a big deal.
That's a big deal.
It was a really big deal. So they had a lot of fun times. One of my friends had a baby on the first, which is crazy. So
Do people normally have babies for Canada Day?
I don't know if they do it on purpose, specifically, but my good buddy Pedro, who will probably never listen to this, he had a baby. It was kind of a really cool thing. Notwithstanding, then tomorrow, you guys obviously celebrate Independence Day and July 4th, and I'm going to do my best to take part of that day off as well. I figured with Fiona, I figured I can get away with it.
You at least get a half day off.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. But let's jump right into the fun of this week. Even though it is going to be a bit of a short week, there's a lot of good stuff coming up, specifically from CE Pro. Sony has a speakerless TV that they debuted at a CE Pro 100 integrator. The title is slightly misleading. It was announced and shown at CES, but this is the first time that they actually kind of really showed it off and let people get up close and personal with it. They did this at Just One Touch Audio Video, which I believe is out in California. And what this is this is a Bravia OLED 4K TV with what they're calling an acoustic surface technology, where the sound emanates directly from the screen itself, opposed to from traditional speakers that everyone is used to seeing on a TV. Now, it's not a super cheap product, coming in around $4,000 for a 55 and $5,500 for a 65, which again, it's not outrageous for what it is. Stephen, does this actually have application for the custom integration channel? Because, again, with them showing it really for the first real time at a CI shop, that's not normally where you'd expect Sony to do a, essentially black tie event, debuting a new TV. That's more, something that they normally wouldn't dedicate to our channel. So they seem to be pushing this for our channel. Does this technology fit our channel?
Not only does it fit our channel, I think that this particular product launching at a CI shop is the perfect location, because this is not a product that you really, I don't think this is a Best Buy, H.H. Gregg kind of product. I just don't. I think this is a product for your higher end clientele, more luxury clientele. And honestly, when I first saw speakerless TV, I was like, hallelujah, they finally figured it out. Most of these TVs that we install, these high-end 4K sets, they're going in rooms that have speakers. So I don't need speakers in my TV. I would love to be able to go back to the days where we could order a display or a monitor instead of a TV, so that we weren't wasting that money. I'd rather take that $15 set of amp and speakers and a TV, get rid of it, I'd still pay the $15, but it slims the TV down. So what they're using with this is the same technology that people like Stealth Acoustics and a couple other brands use. They're doing transducers on the glass instead of speakers. I honestly, when I saw it, and I refer to this all the time, there's an old commercial Eggo guy, the Eggo CEO is sitting at a table with his people, and he says, "Oh, we make syrup now. We've made waffles for decades. Now we make syrup. What took us so long?" So my thing is you make TVs, and this technology was out there for for basically a transducer technology. What took you so long? You've been trying to get these TVs thinner and thinner, and the complaint is, well, we can't make them any thinner because of the speakers. So now I feel like, okay, industry, the manufacturer's catching up. That's a great thing. We'll continue to hope they do more things. Sony also has excellent IP control. They have 232 jacks on the back. They have excellent calibration. Now they've got speakerless TVs. I mean, honestly, Sony is the most custom integration friendly TV company, period. Actually, without by leaps and bounds. So my opinion is that they should keep going. I think it's incredible. I think it would be fine if they would release a few models that were literally speakerless, not just, with no sound option at all. I think that's coming with the new wallpaper style TV from LG, which is another phenomenal product, completely designed for our channel. So, like I said, it's a great thing. We've been looking for it for a while, and hopefully it'll get better.
Tim, Stephen brought up a really good point, and it was actually the newest comment that was on that article, was that, essentially speakerless TV, great, awesome, whatever. But really, I want essentially an old school commercial unit that is just a display. It's not a TV. There's no smart web apps. There's no Hulu. There's none of that garbage. There's no Android iOS or Android OS, whatever Sony calls it, to muck the system up. It's just a display with an HDMI port and 2 control ports. Is that, given the separation, we'll say, between so many custom integration channel installations, where either it's a standalone TV that has everything in it doing its own thing in an auxiliary room, or it's a fully integrated solution. There's not a lot of middle ground for most CI guys. So this is a great product, but do we really just need them to bring back that residentially designed display? Nothing else in it, just a display.
So to answer your question directly, yes. You look at an entire market has been created out of the fact that, to Stephen's point, they've been trying to make the displays thinner and thinner, which has squashed the speakers that are built in even more and more, which has created a subpar speaker. And so an entire line has sprouted out of that, being the speaker bar, right? The sound bar, because the display speaker has been so horrible for so long. So people have figured out, hey, you know what? We could make a really great speaker and sell it, at a premium to folks who were putting these things in, or DIYers who are going to Best Buy or whatever box store and the speaker in this TV is not so great, so you need this $100, $200, $500 sound bar. I think that if you gave people that option, and I'm not a manufacturer, so I couldn't tell you how much it would actually take off of the price. Stephen may be right, maybe $15, $20, but it would give folks a little bit more flexibility. And I say folks, I'm not just talking about residential dealers. I'm also talking about the folks who are going to do it themselves. And if you give them that option, then a couple of different things. There's the sense or the belief that you are saving money, and then you have that option. Whether you choose to take that is entirely up to you. You don't have to choose the display that doesn't have any sort of audio components, with the exception of an audio output. Very good.
And I wholeheartedly agree. I would love just a basic display. Just give me something that looks good. I don't need sound in it. All right, let's move on to a story that comes through us from a residential systems and the one and only John Siaka. If you don't know John, definitely connect with him. He is a fantastic writer and one of the leaders in that category for our channel. But it seems that John is having an employment crisis where they are to a point in their company over in Myrtle Beach where they are short of a man or two. They need some people to fill out their ranks. And like many people in this channel are having a very hard time doing it. They seem to be, doing the normal things of going to the technical schools and a couple other places, and some job boards and Craigslist and, et cetera, et cetera. And they cannot seem to get some entry-level talent. Tim, this is plaguing this industry, whether you're on the residential side, the commercial side.
Yep.
This entire technology industry, other than maybe IT, this is plaguing all of us. And, John had some really good points talking about how, he and his business partner fell into it. Anyone who's listened to the show kind of knows how you fell into it, kind of knows how I fell into it. We all know how Steven fell into it. What is a business owner to do when they cannot seem to find good quality labor? Is this something where we're beyond finding someone who has any specific skills and we need to go back to, finding a kid straight out of high school that maybe doesn't have college aspirations and training them up into it?
Well, what I found interesting in John's article is the fact that of all the different areas where they placed ads, and you mentioned Craigslist and the local newspaper, and they have 0 applicants. 0.
Mm-hmm. 0.
Not unqualified, not, this person was nice, but they didn't have quite the skill set. 0 applicants.
Yeah.
To his point, he's in South Carolina. Myrtle Beach is not exactly a hotbed for technology. I'll give him that. But 0 applicants. A couple things. The trade associations in our industry have done a really, really good job over the last couple of years of trying to grow this organically. Mm-hmm. Infocom has programs, and SCA has programs reaching out at the college level, not necessarily high school level, but the college level, to get folks who are already inclined in our industry. And it could be, electrical engineers, mm-hmm. folks who are in the theater departments, things that nature. Think people who would naturally eventually end up in our industry anyway. You talk with people that are in this industry, and a lot of them either come from music background, either they were musicians, or they were front of house folks or monitor desk, or they were in the electronics field in general, right? I know a lot of folks who used to work for companies like Motorola and Qualcomm and Dell that have ended up in the industry. But the path that they took there, the college experience or the experience they had before they got there, was either in electronics or some sort of broadcast, actually, is another area. Getting these folks early, and whether it's guys or gals, when they're younger, right, and exposing them to this industry. I did an interview with Dave Labuscus at Infocom, who's the chief executive for Infocom. He makes a really good point. We work in one of the most exciting, if not the most exciting industries. We really do. We get to do some really wicked, cool crap, right? Whether it's talking with you or Steven or our buddy Rich Fregosa, the installations you guys do and then the end product is some of the coolest stuff in the world. Right, talking with our buddy George Tucker, who also helps us out at AVNation, and he's done some really awesome things in his career. Mm-hmm. Works with some really great people. Exposing a young person to that, exposing them in high school, and getting them excited about the industry, I think is key. And whether that is on a local level, reaching out to community colleges or reaching out to AV programs in the high schools and saying, look, here's a career path for you that is already in line with what you're showing interest in, I think is a good step. Mm-hmm. And then nurturing them, right? You go into it not thinking that this person's going to retire. And I think that's important, right? Yes, you're going to pour into this person. Yes, you're going to train them, but just generationally, right? The folks who are younger than me, and Matt's one of those, and Stephen is too for that matter. But you guys typically, you don't last very long in jobs, historically speaking, right? 5 or 6 years is the average for folks that are in the younger generations, but that's okay. Right, you're introducing them and you're getting them trained up, and you have a good quality worker for a while. And when they're ready to move on and they're ready to move up, cool, groovy. Then as long as you're feeding that pipeline, you already have the replacement ready to go.
Right, Stephen. I've got 2 questions for you on this. First of all, can you speak to a little bit of and I realize that you're a CEDIA member, but you're not speaking for CEDIA. But CEDIA recently announced a program to help bring in essentially veterans and hire veterans, and they're working with the government to make that effective, which, that's a bit of your background as well. So one, I'd like you to speak to that, but 2, beyond that and beyond what Tim talked about, the part that I find in this article that kind of made the most sense to me was that John's talking about how he and Alan both didn't go or complete college. They got into this without going through 4 years of schooling and racking on that debt and those, and the degrees and everything else that goes with it. And thus it wasn't a big deal for them to come out of school and then get into essentially at an entry level, a manual labor job, because that's what a lot of us are when we start out. You start out in manual labor. You're pulling cable, you're laying conduit, you are digging trenches for cable. It's not something that you can usually entice somebody who is either going to a second career or coming out of college. A lot of times they're in their mind above that. So one, give me some info on some of the military program types, because that's in my opinion, that's an underserved market for us. It's a great pool of talent. But 2, how do you bridge the gap between millennials out of college with a 4-year degree, a boatload of debt, who think that they're supposed to come in and make $80 an hour, and God forbid they get dirty. Where's the gap on that?
Oh boy. Well, touchy subject. I guess I'm the perfect one.
That's why I gave it to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you can send all your hate mail to Matt D. Scott. So here, first I want to start off with the veterans thing and how proud I am of CEDIA for reaching out to my fellow veterans and those that are serving our country. I have 3 certificates hanging over my desk. They all show something I take a lot of pride in, and the one hanging at the very top is my advanced electronics education from the Navy. So that means a lot to me. It has a very dominant part in my life, in all aspects of my life. So what I want to thank CEDIA and, just say that that's an awesome movement. On to the employment situation. We are reaping we are reaping what our society has sowed by telling every child they have to go to college. If you don't go to college, you are never going to be anything. If you don't go to college, you weren't successful. If you don't do this, and what's happening is everyone's going to college. Most of them should not be there.
There's the hate mail.
The truth is, I almost aced the SAT when I was in high school. I scored ridiculously high, and I chose to go into the Navy. Why? Because I was raised to understand what I knew and didn't know, and I didn't have the discipline to do homework in high school. I definitely wasn't going to do it in college, so I went into the Navy. So, I understood that, there comes a time whenever there's personal responsibility. Now, this generation has been told they have to go to college to be successful. Luckily, there's a lot of research, and the generation coming behind them is anti-millennial. It's actually pretty interesting research. They see what's happening. They understand trade jobs, understand what to do, how to find a job. Maybe they don't need to go to college. I will tell you that I have friends that are welders and electricians, and every time somebody tells one of their kids you have to go to college, they literally laugh at them, because I know welders that make more money than just about any CI that I know. And even these guys that think they're hot crap living in California making big money, making nothing compared to these welders working in some of these jobs. So, and it's funny because those same people, if they were standing in line next to one of these welders, would still feel like they were better off. What they don't understand is these trade jobs are important. So I would think that the biggest thing we need to do is stop telling our children that they are not successful if they don't go to college.
Yep.
I've got 2 years of college. I've got a couple of years of Navy education, which is equal to about 4 years of college. I will say this. I learned more in the Navy than I did ever in college. And unless you count a real good proficiency for liquor. And I learned way more in my first 4 years in the AV industry than I did in either one of them put together. And I think that having a trade job, having a skill, stop telling our children they have to go to college and they're not successful if they don't, and let them be AV people. Let them be mechanics. Let them be welders. Let them be these things because they work with their hands. They have a trade they can sell, and they're not $200,000 in debt. My wife has a master's degree with honors in psychology. She graduated like beyond top of her class. And the jobs that she's offered are $38,000 to $44,000 a year. I mean, honestly, the guys that are starting in our industry, even if they're green, if they're not making 30 plus, it's hard to get them in the door. Yeah. So that's my answer to you is number one, thank you, CEDIA, for the veteran involvement. That in itself kept me as a CEDIA member for probably another 5 years. They could go out and run over a nun. I'd still be a CEDIA. Go ahead.
No, this is awesome. The one thing I will piggyback on that is some of that is also starts at the home, right? Mm-hmm. Because folks in my generation starting in the home it was you had to. My parents are baby boomers, right? And it was very much you have to go to college. And I'm already starting with my 9 and 11-year-olds. Like, look, you know what? If you find something that you want to do, if you want to be, I use welder as an example with my daughter the other day. It's like, if you want to be a welder, you don't need to go to college, Now, I would personally like you to go to at least a couple of years just to broaden your horizons and I think there's value there in exposing them to new ideas that aren't ours growing up, right? I think there's value in getting exposed to alternative points of view. I said, but for as far as career, if you want to do something that doesn't require it doesn't require a degree, then you don't need college. And part of that is as our kids, all three of us have kids, all of our kids are growing up, is impressing that on them, that you don't have to go to college to be a success.
Well, and there's something that has been lost over the years, and this was on mine, this was on you, Tim, and on you, Stephen, as well. Growing up, trades were frowned upon.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And if your friend or your best friend's dad was a welder or an electrician or a plumber,
carpenter,
they didn't do well in life. And that may have been true for a while, but because of the shift, we're now seeing, and Stephen, I'm not sure if you or the company are members of like your local home builders association or anything like that, but all we hear about in ours locally here is that we cannot get tradespeople. We cannot find people who will take the time to go to trade school to become a carpenter, a framer, a welder, a plumber. And what that's going to mean down the road. And one of my biggest heroes in this genre is Mike Rowe, who, if you've never followed him, I don't care how you feel about his politics, follow his, I think it's Work First. But follow that, look that up, because he gets really deep into this. Because we've pushed off trades, whether it be AV or being a plumber or a mechanic or anything, we don't have enough people for this anymore. We have hundreds of thousands of physical therapists, but we don't have a guy that can get you power in your house. So as kids are coming up, and again, electrical, low voltage, AV, it's all in that same realm. We're all in incredibly high demand right now.
And I don't want to disparage anyone that wants to go to college. I want to make sure I didn't come off wrong there. In my home, I have a 16-year-old son that not only just graduated high school, but he graduated high school with a year of college already covered. So we push for education and we push for high achievement, but we don't tell our children that you have to go to college to be successful. He's chosen that path. So it's important for us to step out. And also these, I have a hard time a lot of times with the millennial generation because I am a hard worker and I don't understand the mentality. However, what I do on the flip side is when I talk to them, I look at them and I go, hey, I'm 40 years old. For the last 9 years, we've been a single income household. How would you like to live like I live? You can do what I do without any college. And you go to trade school, you learn a little bit about electrical, you learn a little bit about electronics. And I try to talk to younger people and let them know, hey, you can do this, but you have to work at it. And I want to second that Mike Rowe statement there. Like you said, ignore his politics. If you don't like his politics, which I happen to, but if you don't like his politics, then don't follow his politics. However, Reagan said it best, find your 80% person.
Yeah, you can't discount what he's talking about because of the politics.
Exactly.
But it's one of those things where going to college isn't bad, going to university isn't bad. Going to university, and this is something that I'd love to see. I'd love to see more people go to university or college and come back to our industry afterwards.
Yeah.
Because we don't have enough time to get into one of the other articles that we were hoping to cover. But there's a lack of well-educated business people in the industry and in every trade. So it's a catch-22. We do need those people who can be wire pullers, and we do need those people who can be programmers. And a lot of them are going to go get, some college experience and get a degree potentially and come back and program, especially as that continues to evolve. But we also need business people who can go and get a business degree, an administration degree, and come back and help build our industry. Because that's the one, if there's one thing that always gets me about employment questions about our industry, it's we always go to that entry-level job. And we forget that unless you're a mom and pop shop with, 2 or 3 employees, that's not that big of a deal. But the reason that a lot of our bigger companies that have tried to go national, and we could name 2 or 3 really quickly that have failed spectacularly, they've literally just imploded. It's because you had guys that did not have enough business sense looking at the numbers.
I'd like to add 2 quick points to this, because this is something that's very, very dear to me, and I work on it. As you guys know, I have a pretty extensive mentoring program. I constantly try to work with other integrators. I really give back to my industry. 2 quick points. Number one, I recently had a conversation with, Dennis Erskine. And we talked about this, and I told him, I said, Dennis, if you're looking for help, you should start looking at electricians. So anybody watching this show, if you're looking for help, start talking to electricians. Go to your trade school, find electricians. Go to your electrical shops, find electricians. See what you can do about talking to those guys. find you a couple of them that know what a speaker is. You can teach them the rest. And something that Erskine said, which was, going back to my veterans, which is also obviously close to my heart, is that he has started hiring what he calls shooters. And this isn't guys that walk around with guns all the time. What he's saying is he's hiring guys that are infantry, what people would consider entry-level military jobs. What I would say is look into that as well. The guys that you hire from the military, they don't need to be advanced weapon techs. They don't need to be, guys that did satellite guidance systems. They can be guys that, got up every morning, made their bed, did their job, served their country. They get out. They've already got the discipline. They've already got the drive. Give those guys a shot.
Yeah, and they also have a ton of teamwork, and that's a big thing.
Big time.
So, all right, gentlemen, thank you so much for that. I know we didn't cover as much as we were planning to, but that was a fantastic discussion, if I do say so myself. Stephen, where can people connect with you and follow your online ramblings?
You can find me at just about every local gun range. You can also you can follow me at ProAudio_GA on Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm basically everywhere. If you're at a trade show, I'm probably going to be there. Just look for the guy that just absolutely doesn't seem to fit in. And I really enjoy doing the show. Please reach out to me if you want to talk to me about veteran jobs, or if you want to talk to me about what we can offer, or if you just need a mentor in the industry, I'd love to work with you.
Excellent. Tim, where can people find you?
They can find me on the Twitterverse at TD10David Albright, but the website as well, which you'll talk about in a second.
Perfect. For myself, if you'd like to follow me, you can find me at Matt D. Scott on Twitter, and definitely send us your feedback, stuff from the show you like, didn't like, etc. All the hate mail goes to Steven for this episode. That'll be fine. But most importantly, please take a moment to stop by AVNation.tv. You'll find this show as well as a wide variety of other shows with all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check into our underwriters. Check them out. They have been fantastic for us. We greatly appreciate their support and ask that you support them as well. Thanks again for watching. That's all the time we have for this episode of ResiWeek.